Our big story at 5, President Obama making a quick visit to Milwaukee to highlight successes with the Affordable Care Act.
Your insurance is better than it was. Even if you don't know it. Even if you didn't vote for me. Thanks, Obama.
Republicans running for president promise to repeal Obamacare, as they call it, if they are elected.
But the plan is popular with people who listened to the president's speech at the United Community Center this afternoon.
Casey Geraldo live where the president made his first stop of the day.
Eric Ross is live at the UCC with reaction to the president's speech.
And we will begin with what the president had to say. Charles Benson begins our coverage. Charles?
Steve, a big day for the president and Milwaukee. He knows the clock is ticking on his presidency and that Obamacare is a big part of his legacy. He came here to congratulate Milwaukee and the city on its efforts for signing up people for health insurance.
Milwaukee came out on top. You get bragging rights this year.
It was a victory lap for President Obama on his legacy health care legislation.
The Affordable Care Act, AKA Obamacare. It's saving lives and it's saving money. And we've done all this while creating millions of new jobs. We've cut our deficits by almost 75%. The act itself has cost less than the original projections.
He called Milwaukee a role model for the nation in signing up new people for Obamacare.
You got nearly 90,000 people to sign up. That's enough to fill Lambeau Field, still have a big tailgating party with a lot of folks outside. And those tailgaters wouldn't have to worry because Obamacare covers indigestion from too many brats.
But 6 years after he signed the Affordable Care Act, and now just 3 years since it's been up and running, President Obama still hears the Republican calls to repeal and replace it.
Facts, evidence don't comport with their conviction that the ACA means an end to the American way. And repeal has been a rallying cry. And they say they want to replace, but they still haven't come up with a replacement.
And President Obama says people can get health insurance for as low as $100 a month. He says that's less than their cell phone bill. I want to bring in now my colleague Eric Ross, who was here talking to folks, and a lot of believers here. They like the Affordable Care Act, but they also believe, Eric, there are still some challenges ahead.
That's right. Good evening, Charles. Everybody here in attendance to hear the president's speech support the Affordable Care Act. They believe it's going in the right direction. However, many people we spoke with would still like to see reduced health care costs. Dozens of people arrived at the UCC as early as 8 this morning. Police blocked off several nearby streets, and those who didn't have a ticket to get in were forced to go across the street to the park as a security precaution. President Obama's speech was brief, but said Milwaukee is a role model that shows the Affordable Care Act is working. People we spoke with agree, believing we're on the right track.
It does seem that people are getting access to better health care.
I feel like it still has a ways to go, but I think the steps that has been taken for healthcare is great.
State Representative Frederick Kessler also attended the event.
I would hope that eventually we will get universal coverage.
People like Sheila Ashley admit the healthcare system isn't perfect, but says the Affordable Care Act has helped her family tremendously.
I'm more than satisfied with health care. I had a daughter in law school whose appendix ruptured, and had we not had Obamacare, we would have been paying for that ourselves.
And back out here live for one Wisconsin man who had actually written President Obama a letter at the White House saying the Affordable Care Act saved his life, got the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have lunch with President Obama. We'll share his story coming up on Live at 6. Charles?
Yeah, that was a big moment for Brent Brown. He's from Mosinee, Wisconsin, so we look forward to that story. It was an interesting day here. Obviously, President Obama getting the biggest applause, but also here were some members of the Milwaukee Bucks listening to the president's speech. And as much as he was here, Stephen Carroll, to celebrate Milwaukee's win, He did point out that Milwaukee beat his hometown of Chicago. We're live outside Bruce Guadalupe School. Charles Benson, today's TMJ4.
And Charles, I'm going to ask you to add to these thoughts. You know, it seemed like when the president spoke today, he was definitely, again, trying to cement his legacy. This was not a campaign speech, and there is a difference when you listen to these speeches, Charles.
No, it wasn't a campaign speech, but he really did bring up a few names familiar here in Wisconsin, talking about Governor Walker. We'll have some more of that coming up on Live at 6. And also Paul Ryan. Didn't mention him by name, but he knows Republicans, especially Republicans here in Wisconsin, do not like his signature health care law. And he's here and will probably spend the rest of his time in his presidency talking about the benefits on why he thinks it's working. And he wanted to show Milwaukee, thanks for what you're doing.
Charles, see you back here at 6. Thanks.
President Obama's first stop in Milwaukee was Engine House number 3 for lunch.
Casey Geraldo is live with that part of the story. Casey?
Hi, Stephen Carroll. This is a lot closer than anybody was able to get to Engine Company number 3. Earlier today when the president was here, they had National and 2nd all the way west, a couple of blocks blocked off for the president. But nobody knew he was going to be here until about a half hour beforehand. Not even the owners, even though they thought it was a corporate lunch under the name Jesse. But thinking back, the owner realized he had signed up for this, talking with Jesse years ago.
Would you ever be interested in being a place to host the president? I said, sure. And that was 3 years ago. And then, of course, I didn't think anything of it until he shows up. He says, do you remember me? And we talked about the creme brulee. And I said, yes, I remember vividly. So there you go.
I chatted with the group here for lunch. They didn't want to be on camera, but they tell me when they walked up, a Secret Service agent said something along the lines of, hey, I'm with the Secret Service and I need to check you out before you go in. So obviously an exciting surprise here today, and you'll want to keep watching. On the Now Milwaukee at 6:30, we're talking to the waitress who served the president. She's telling us what he ate and even how he tipped. Live on Milwaukee's South Side, I'm Casey Geraldo for today's TMJ4.
It's got to be an amazing day when you find out that the Secret Service is coming up to you saying, hey, I need to check you out. You just want to have lunch.
Got a good story out of it, though. Casey,
Incredible.
thanks.
Thank you, Casey.